fat body type. You know that fighter who looks like he just rolled off the couch and into the cage? That's the fat fighter. Chris Barnett and Derek Lewis walk into the octagon looking like they skipped every cardio session and went straight to the buffet. And somehow, they're professional athletes. Here's why this is the worst body type fighting. Everything works against you. Think about what a fight actually demands. Endurance, speed, mobility, the ability to move for 15 or 25 minutes without your body shutting down. Fat fighters, they're running on borrowed time from the opening bell. Watch Lewis in round 3 of any fight that goes the distance. He's sucking wind. His hands drop. That extra weight isn't just sitting there looking soft. It's demanding oxygen. His lungs can't provide fast enough. And don't let the knockout power fool you into thinking it's worth it. Sure, Lewis can crack. Sure, Barnett threw that viral spinning kick. But you know what's more reliable than hoping to land one big shot? Being able to fight at a high level for more than 90 seconds. The durability argument falls apart under scrutiny too. Yeah, fat absorbs some impact. But you know what else it does? It slows you down so you get hit more in the first place. It's like saying a bigger target is actually an advantage because it's harder to completely destroy. In grappling, it gets worse. Try to get up when someone's on top of you and you're carrying an extra 40 pounds. Try to scramble. Try to explode out of bad position. You can't. That weight is an anchor. Fat is borrowed power with a terrible interest rate. You might hit hard for one round, but you're paying for it in every other aspect of fighting. And in a sport where the fight can go 5 rounds, that's a debt you can't afford. The skinny fat body type. You know that fighter who looks like he's never seen the inside of a weight room? That's the skinny fat fighter. Nate Diaz walks into the cage with no abs, no definition, just soft around the edges, like a guy who trains by smoking cigarettes and running. And yeah, he's got cardio for days. But let's be real about what else comes with that body type. Here's why skinny fat is barely better than just fat. You get the worst of both worlds. Think about what you're actually looking at. No muscle mass means no power, no explosiveness, no ability to generate force when it matters. Sure, you can throw punches all day long, but if none of them hurt, what's the point? Watch Diaz fight and count how many times he lands clean shots that just don't put a dent in his opponent. Volume is great until you realize you're throwing pillow punches. A stocky fighter lands 3 hard shots and ends the fight. A skinny fat fighter lands 30 and just annoys people. And the durability everyone talks about, that's not the body type. That's just toughness. Put that same iron chin on a muscular frame and now you've got something. On a skinny fat fighter, it just means you survive longer while losing. The cardio advantage is real, but it's the participation trophy of fighting attributes. Congratulations, you can get beaten up for 5 rounds instead of 3. Meanwhile, the balanced fighter has good enough cardio and can actually hurt you. In grappling, there's no strength to muscle out of bad position, no explosive power to complete takedown. You're just there, existing, hoping your technique is so much better that it makes up for having the physical tools of a marathon runner. The deception factor? Overrated. Yeah, opponents might underestimate you once, then they realize you can't crack an egg, and they just walk forward, knowing your punches are suggestion, not threats. Skinny fat fighters survive, but they rarely dominate. The built body type. You know that fighter who looks like they actually live in the gym? That's the built fighter. Yoel Romero walks into the cage at 40 years old with a physique that makes bodybuilders jealous. Paulo Costa looks like he was chiseled from marble. Here's why being built is just decent. It looks better than it fights. Think about what all that muscle actually costs you. Every pound of lean mass is screaming for oxygen. Your cardiovascular system is working overtime just to feed those muscles. And in a fight, that bill comes due fast. Watch Romero slow down in championship round. Those sculpted abs and boulder shoulders aren't free. They're expensive, and you're paying for them with your gas tank. The strength advantage is real, but it's not as game-changing as you'd think. Sure, you can muscle through some positions. Sure, your punches have pop, but a balanced fighter has enough strength to compete and doesn't sacrifice everything else to get it. In grappling, all that muscle makes you stiff. You can't flow. You can't scramble as smoothly. And when you get tired, which happens faster than you want, that strength evaporates and you're just carrying dead weight. The built fighter also tends to rely on their physicality too much. Why develop slick technique when you can just overpower people? Then you face someone your size or bigger, and suddenly your whole game falls apart. Built fighters are front-loaded. They're dangerous early, impressive to look at, and then they're cooked by round 4. You traded longevity for aesthetics, and in a fight that goes the distance, that's a losing trade. The stocky body type. Here's why stocky sits at above decent. Think about what makes them dangerous. That low center of gravity makes them immovable. Try to push them off balance. Good luck. They're harder to trip, harder to sweep, impossible to bully around. When Merab shoots a takedown, he's already under your hips before you can blink. Shorter distance to travel means faster shot. A compact frame means every muscle fires together instantly. There's no wasted motion, no long levers that need to build momentum. In the clinch, those short arms become a nightmare. There's no space to escape. Everything is tight, crushing, suffocating. And on the ground, it's like getting smothered by a boulder. But here's where it falls short of elite. Reach's attacks they pay every single fight. Against a lanky fighter who knows what they're doing, stocky fighters eat jabs all night just trying to close distance. Every step forward is a risk. Every entry costs energy and damage. They have to work twice as hard to get where they need to be. And when they can't close the gap, they're just target practice. Watch a stocky fighter struggle against someone with a length and move. It's like watching someone try to punch smoke they can reach. When they get there, they're devastating. But getting there isn't guaranteed. And that ceiling keeps them from being truly elite. The lanky body type. Here's why lanky sits at great, but not the best. They control the fight until they don't. Think about what makes them dangerous. They can stand at a distance where they hit you, but you can't hit them back. Adesanya can kick you in the head from a range where most guys are still trying to close the distance. It's like having a sword while everyone else has knives. You're fighting a completely different fight, and when opponents finally do rush in to close that gap, that's when the lanky fighter is most dangerous, because they've been controlling when and where the fight happens the entire time. Normal fighters have to lean in to land they have to commit their whole body, step forward, get close. That's when they're vulnerable. That's when they eat countered. Lanky fighters don't play that game. They control range without ever putting themselves in danger. But here's where it breaks down. The second that distance disappears, lanky fighters are in trouble. Get inside on them, and suddenly those long limbs are useless. In the clinch, they can't generate power. On the ground, they struggle to create the space they need. A stocky wrestler who gets under their hip, it's over. Those long legs become liabilities, easy to grab, easy to control, and strength is always an issue. Those thin frames don't pack the muscle to muscle through positions when things get ugly. Against someone bulky or thick who gets a hold of them, they're getting ragdolled. The reality is this: lanky fighters are elite when they dictate the fight. Fighting isn't always on your terms. The second someone takes away their range, they're fighting with half a toolbox, and that's the difference between good and elite. The thick body type. Here's why thick sits at very good. They're the hybrid that catches everyone off guard. Think about what makes them dangerous. When they hit you, it's not just muscle force, it's weight behind every shot. Their punches feel heavier than they should because there's mass driving them, but when you hit them back, that thickness absorbs it. Your best shots just sink into them and disappear. It's the best of both worlds. All the power of muscle, all the durability of extra mass, combined into one fighter who's nearly impossible to hurt, move, or break. In the clinch, thick fighters become impossible to deal with. Aspinall can lean on you, drag you down, make every second feel like work. You're not fighting pure muscle that tires out. You're fighting dense, heavy pressure that never stops. And here's the scary part. Opponents always underestimate fighters. They don't look shredded. People assume they're slow or out of shape. Then the fight starts and they realize this guy hits like a truck, moves like an athlete, and never gets tired. But here's where they fall short of the top tier. They're not the best at anything specific. A bulky fighter hits harder. A balanced fighter moves better. A stocky fighter has better cardio efficiency. Fighters are great at everything, but masters of nothing. They're the jack of all trades, in a sport where specialists can exploit that. Against an elite balanced fighter who can match their versatility, fighter doesn't have a clear advantage. They can't out-muscle the bulky guy, can't out-cardio the balanced fighter, can't out-technique the specialist. The balanced body type. Here's why balance is the absolute best. Having no weaknesses is its own super weapon. Think about every other body type. Lanky fighters lack strength. Bulky fighters slow down by round 2. Fat fighters can't move like they need to. Stocky fighters struggle with reach. Fighters are good at everything, great at nothing. Every single body type has a hole you can exploit. Balanced fighters, there's no hole. Makhachev can strike for 5 rounds without his arms turning to cement. He can wrestle without his muscles screaming for oxygen. He's strong enough to control you, but not so bulky that he's stiff. He can move when he needs to, but doesn't have to rely on it to survive. Watch his fights. He just does everything at a high level for 25 minutes straight, while his opponents start breaking down. Round 1 looks like round 5, because his body isn't fighting against itself. No excessive muscle demanding oxygen, no lack of muscle leaving him weak, no length making him awkward, no shortage of reach putting him in danger. Against a lanky fighter, closes distance without gassing out. Against a stocky fighter, he uses just enough reach to keep them honest. Against a bulky fighter, he waits for round 3 when they fade. Against a fighter, he matches their versatility and outlasts them. That's the advantage. You can't wait for them to fade. You can't exploit a physical weakness because there isn't one.